This is the first episode of Screaming Creativity Season 2. I'm here with Phil Thomas. Now, I'm going to read off. You've been with Ascential now how many years?
39 years.
39 years. He started when you were 4 years old. It was interesting. You were a child actor.
Yeah.
But you were CEO of Cannes Lions for 10 years, and you're gracious enough to join us on this podcast and give up your time, because must be an insane 10 days for you, or how many days is really Cannes Lions, the festival itself?
It's gone down from, we used to be here for 3.5 weeks. And you might remember those days when we did all of the judging on site. One of the juries, Film Craft, was here for 10 days straight. So it's changed since then.
AI has solved all that now.
Yeah, we've streamlined it since then. So we're here for about 10 days, 2 weeks now.
So it's day 2. How's it going? And what's the high so far? And give me one problem that's happened. People want to know behind the scenes. This is the premier festival in the world, and I do think people want to know, like, how does it happen? What's the real behind the scenes stories that go on, the good and maybe some of the bad?
Well, I mean, it's been an amazing festival already. I can't believe it's only day 2 because it feels like Friday. You know, I mean, even yesterday it went from 0 to 100 in no time at all. So it's grown a lot. One of the things that I'm happiest about this year is that we have sold more badges, Rob. So
interesting.
People talk about what's happening in the Palais, what's happening outside of the Palais, and that's the real tension. But the fact that we've sold more badges means more people want to come in the Palais, and that makes me very happy.
And, you know, because we always say to people, when you come here, make sure you go see the work.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But with digital and AI, like, how are people experiencing the work? Besides, yes, you can go downstairs, see the print work, but really, like, the business has evolved beyond print to so many different I think it's been such a driver of, like, we were having a discussion last night, like, the reason people are really putting creativity into commerce is because of Cannes. When Cannes says it's important, actually becomes more important to us. So, but how do people experience the work when we're in a digital world now?
Yeah, I mean, just to touch on what your point there about, if we introduce a category at Cannes, it does kind of accelerate the creativity and the interest within that category.
Yeah.
And that one of the best examples this year is B2B, right? So we launched B2B a couple of years ago, and already, if you look across the winners so far, the shortlists and winners, even if you take the titanium shortlist, the number of B2B pieces of work in there is extraordinary. So B2B has gone from nothing to really going right across the festival. And that's just a really great example of that.
Yeah. The fact that now that the TV, film, print is actually called classic, or what is the track called?
Yeah, it's called classic.
No, it's an interesting thing because, you know, I remember when my old agency won, Small Business Saturday won direct and I think promo in the same year. And it was like, wow, winning these Grand Prix in these categories, it was kind of cool, but it wasn't that cool. But it actually started becoming more and more. So I do think it's showing the way forward for the industry. But it's amazing now how much time and effort we put into B2B, into health.
Yeah.
And not just doing Lions, but you realize, like, that's the new frontier for creativity. So I think that's probably the unknown thing about Cannes, is that it actually pushes the industry, not just rewards the industry.
All of our data says that every single time that it happens, and it's really interesting, I think, because people want to prove what can be done. If you take B2B as a category, or anybody working in B2B or health, when we introduce health, want to prove that you can do great work, and they do that by winning the Lions. But coming back to your question about how do people experience the work, yes, of course, it's all online now, and you can look at it on your phone, etc. But if you go in the Palais, you will see large snakes of mainly clients.
Actually, large snakes, though.
No,
the weird new thing.
That was a metaphor.
Cannes Lions, no, incredible. It's like, no, there's actually live snakes there. It's like, only 3 people have tried, so it's fine.
Honestly, it's driven by you wouldn't believe the number of clients down there is amazing.
Well, this, you know, we're having this discussion. You know, there's a couple clients, you know, that clients forever have questioned the value of Cannes and therefore the value of creativity. And is this all fluff, or are the ads real, or are they scam? Like, but, you know, you guys have done a study with McKinsey that I've talked about a lot that really proves that the more you invest in high quality creativity, the better it does for you growth wise. I mean, talk about that a little, because that is the tension that's still out there of like, is this worth it?
It's much less of a tension now.
Yeah.
I'm delighted to say. And we've got 4,000 plus CMOs here in the festival. And they don't come just for the sun and the fun.
Yeah.
They come because they realize it does drive growth. And it was best described to me, actually, only a couple of nights ago, I had a meeting with a CMO of a very, very, very large organization, multi-billion-dollar organization that everybody would know, actually in the healthcare space. And he said,
It's me.
Cannes Lions for us, he said, it's not an award show. He said, what it is it's a gift every year. It was so poetic. He said, it's a gift every year from the industry to me, because I take it and I use it to persuade my CFO to continue to invest in creativity in my marketing. It's a gift from the industry every year. And I unpack it, excitedly, because I then prove to my CFO, and I questioned him on it, and I said, yeah, but you know what CFOs are like, do they really? And he said, no, because we've got all the data behind it, and that's how I get my investment, by using the Lions. So when people are entering the Lions and when they're winning the Lions, and I say this to all the juries, yes, you're honoring great work, you're honoring the people who made that work, and you're celebrating it, but it's so much more that you're doing. You are providing proof to continue the flywheel of investment in creativity, and that's quite a responsibility, and it's a great.
Yeah, I think the results of that, it's a good case study. When you think about Coca-Cola, they're having a spectacular 2 days, and wasn't as very good last year. The results weren't as what we were hoping, but when they've put this focus on creativity in, I say, every brand, every region, every channel, Coke is committed to, putting creativity into everything they do. But their business results are also off the chart. Now, of course, there's many factors into that, but they truly believe, and you see it. So winning a Grand Prix for the Recycle Me campaign, it's fascinating when a brand commits to it and then it drives growth. Well, then it becomes, hopefully you don't want to get off that train.
What I find interesting is the different categories that are coming in now. So I literally just came from a meeting with one of the global consultancies, I won't name them. And what they're here doing is specifically attracting financial services marketers, right? So financial services are being massively disrupted. Payments are changing. Everything's changing. And they are seeing so much engagement from financial services CMOs. And what they said to me just now was they've got a deck when they're trying to sell their services to CMOs. And at the back end of the deck, they had one line about marketing. Now they have an entire deck about marketing, and that is their major focus, to get financial banks mainly, to get them on side. And they bring them to Cannes to prove what can happen to their business. So, I mean, it's so different. I mean, from when we started back in the day, when it really was, perhaps you could say, just a celebration of great ideas. Some of them were in the world. Some of them, let's be honest, weren't in the world. And it's just a complete sea change.
And when you think of the clients that are here now, like, I remember 10 years ago, maybe 10 or 15 years, when you started having clients come. And there were some creatives saying, they're ruining Cannes by bringing all these clients.
I don't think you ever agreed with that.
I never agreed with it. I was like, are you partying less? Is there less rosé for you? Like, why? Like, the more clients see the power of creativity and the value of creativity, the better it is for everything. So it's great when the Microsofts win and the Verizons win and Unilever wins and Apple and giant brands win, because other brands might see, wow, look what they're doing and look at their results. So I hope you keep doing that.
Well, we started, just to finish on this, started a few years ago. We had so many requests from brands to help them curate their week that we've now got a brand village down near the Palais, and there's Kraft and there's Diageo and there's PepsiCo and there's all these brands. And what we do, they send like 20, 30 of their marketers, and we curate the whole week for them. And they're working really hard. So the creatives might still be partying occasionally, but the CMOs are working really hard.
They have some fun too. I think everybody. This is why. I mean, there's been talk. Would the festival ever move? And you guys have been talking about, like, I try to explain to people. There's just something about the proximity of everything the walkability of everything. Maybe Hotel de Cap or something else is a little bit far away. There's something about it that's magical.
Yeah.
The fact that the film festival has been here, that you're in a very highly creative place, that it's impossible to not be inspired by something.
Every couple of years, the board will ask me to do an analysis of where we could move and where we should move.
Yeah.
And me and the team do a whole load of work on it. And we're looking at Miami, we're looking at New York, we're looking at Barcelona, we're looking at Shanghai. And it's all a waste of time because I'm not moving this festival anytime soon.
Yeah, it's just a magical thing. You have the beach, the weather usually cooperates to some degree. Maybe it's a little bit hotter. It's beautiful this week. So I hope it never ends. Let's talk a little bit about categories, and then maybe talk a little bit how you got into this insane business.
Yeah.
But there's a new luxury and lifestyle category.
There is.
Which I'm very interested to see how it comes out. I don't think I was a supporter of this category. I am now, but I think I would question it because the definition of luxury, Volvo is a luxury car in parts of the region, and others it's maybe not as high a luxury. I believe it's an amazing luxury car, but other brands might not qualify as luxury to some people, to others. So that's always the trick of
depending on the part of the world as well.
Yeah. So how do you rectify that?
It's a great question because it was one of the most difficult. It's one of the most difficult categories that we launched, really, because of that.
Yeah.
But sometimes these little gnarly, difficult ones, when there's enough of a desire to do it, and luxury fits in, frankly, with say B2B. So if you take luxury, a lot of luxury advertising historically in the last sort of 15, 20 years has just been, magazines, just the product shots and fairly simple stuff. It's developed so far that there was a desire from the industry to introduce a line, just like we talked about with B2B. This is the definition that's difficult. But as you know, what we do, and you've helped us loads of times with this, is we just kick it off and then the jury help us.
Yeah.
1 year it gets better, it gets better. And depending on who enters and who gets the lions and then the feedback we get from the jury, this helps us to develop the categories. And as you know, some of our categories have changed dramatically. I mean, really dramatically over the years.
For the better. I mean, you guys are very good at taking feedback from the agencies and probably from brand partners, which I think is very unique for a festival that maybe doesn't have to always listen to people, and you get a lot of feedback from people. And sometimes you get feedback from Rob Reilly at 3 a.m. saying, Phil, what's happening here? And you politely reply, well, we'll look into it.
But this is what I say to everybody who works on the festival.
Yeah.
So everyone's got an opinion about what we do, and they've got every right to have that opinion because they feel they own it, which is a wonderful thing. But actually, any criticism that we get is massively balanced to the positive by the fact that the festival is really built by you guys. I mean, it's actually, when I was running it, I used to say, which was true, I don't have to have that many ideas because the industry have them for
Yeah, they tell you.
It's just amazing. Yeah. So the thing has been built by the industry, and as long as you are prepared to listen, and, we've got our own, there are constraints obviously, and there's things we can do and we can't do, but it's the industry that helps us to build it. And part of that is taking criticism. You've got to.
So why do you think so many celebrities and musicians, or celebrities too, and sports, figures, on their own dime sometimes come to camp? What are they looking to do?
They are, one of the first ones that really struck home to me was when dear old Lou Reed spoke. Wow. Do you remember when Lou Reed?
Yeah, I didn't see it, but I remember.
Yeah, it was amazing. And he came many years ago, and he looked at, the interviewer asked him exactly that question. And this was way before we had the kind of music talent we have now. And the interviewer asked him, what are you doing at this festival of advertising? And he looked out at the audience and he said, you guys are the only guys who pay me for what I do.
Wow.
Interesting. I think that is the heart of really, they're trying to build brand partnerships. They're trying to meet with guys like you to help them build their profile and their businesses. So that's why they come.
Yeah.
I think some people just come also because it's just a huge amount of fun.
Yeah, it's fun. But also I think, that it's flipped. So Lou Reed saying you're the ones who pay us. The reality is that, you want to I think the celebrities and musicians and sports stars, like, I think they need brands more than maybe the brands necessarily need them. I think it's changed a bit. So I'm always like, well, what are you offering
Really?
us?
That's interesting.
Because, the brands have the platforms and maybe the money to make some of these things happen. Verizon, which I think is doing pretty well, the Super Bowl campaign that um, Beyonce launched her, pivoted to country music via a Verizon commercial. Now you could say it's on the Super Bowl when you gotta get that audience, but she still chose this brand to make a giant pivot with the album. If you've ever listened to the album, it's incredible. But that's how the world is changing. I think it's like
Definitely.
Beyonce gave a lot to Verizon beyond Verizon giving just to her for her services or her celebrity. She was a giant collaborator in it, and she saw it as a real value. And it's a giant value for Verizon when you see, wow, the biggest star in the world, or one of the biggest stars in the world, that can break the internet, but can't break Verizon. Good positioning, but also that partnership yielded something for consumers that is so valuable.
Yeah.
You proved the point about the network, but you also said that an artist like Beyonce is going to surprise you in every which way. And I do think that's what hopefully celebrities realize, like, you've got to give a little bit more back to the brands now.
But I think in a way it's at the heart of the growth of the festival. When I took over the festival in 2006, I remember I came to the first one I came to.
Yeah.
And I had...
It was Terry
Savage, yeah. And I was running... I used to go to the film festival for years and years because I was a film journalist.
Yeah.
And I used to go to the film festival, and that was a big, important, it was a cultural phenomenon. And my first Cannes Lions, way back in 2006, I just thought, why does this industry think this is important? This is tiny. This is insular. It's talking to itself. What the hell? I think what's happened is that actually our industry is now so much at the center of culture that the festival has become a cultural landmark, a cultural moment in the year. And it's because of the musicians and the sports people and the talent that's coming as well. But at the heart of it is our industry. It's our communications. It's brand communications, and that's what's grown it. And it's so interesting because on the other side of things is the development of media. So you've got Amazon suddenly waking up and thinking we're a media platform. Oh, hang on a minute, we're actually one of the world's biggest, if not the world's biggest media platform.
Walmart.
Yeah, Walmart's a great example. There is a bank here today. I don't know if it's been... Actually, it was announced last night. So Chase are launching their own media services, because they communicate with 1 in 2 customers, as you well know. And that, again, has created this oxygenation of the water. I describe it as it's like a babbling river, It's so much oxygen in our industry at the moment. And that's what I think drives the excitement.
Yeah, and the media point is a good one. And again, media, tech, some people say, well, it's a creativity festival. It's not the festival of media, or it's not the festival of tech. But if you're smart, you realize, like, creativity is everywhere.
Yeah.
It should be everywhere. It's the world's most valuable asset. It's not just the award show word or Hollywood word or art word. It's like how the world solves big problems, whether it's in media, whether it's in tech. I love that all these companies are here. I spent a lot of time with Group M. It's a great, our media company, and Christian and his team, and they're doing amazing things here and having great, interesting discussions about the future, what we're doing, and how we're taking things like AI. So it's fun to be part of an industry and a festival that really understands, like, there's nothing we can't do. We do have a tremendous amount of influence, and there's budgets and money, and companies are willing to go for it. And you think of, like, what's more important? It's not the awards. It's actually the buzz your brand gets. Sure, Coke's going to win awards, but the buzz about Coke at this festival is high.
Yeah,
because it just feels like a happening brand, and obviously their growth is fueling that too. The other CMOs want to talk to Manolo, like, what are you guys doing over there? How'd you turn it to it? So I do think that's a bigger, takeaway. This is than maybe just the awards. It's not just the awards, and it's not just the meetings. I think it's the energy you get. If your brand is doing well, you got an energy here, you got a swagger about you that other brands want to touch it. So I do think there's the things we don't talk about. I want people to, who are questioning the value of Cannes. It's like, no, if you do it right, you'll be successful. So
Yeah, absolutely.
what is what's next for Can? What do you think's next? I don't want to say like think 5 years ahead, but like, do you see it changing dramatically in 5 years, 10 years?
I think
Bigger, smaller? I mean, yes, some people talk about the entries being down, but the quality is so high, and I think you've done a really good job of limiting the categories, and for all the criticisms I'm sure you get, like, I think that is a very positive thing, and maybe some of the entries down, but like the badges are up, and maybe these things, everybody's got to figure out how to monetize some stuff, but I do think the quality has gotten way better over the last few years.
Yeah, I mean, the entries are interesting because if you think about the high point of our entries, that was just before we had a difficult time when Publicis pulled out and Martin Sorrell was not happy, and the industry generally was saying, "Come on, you got to do something." So you remember what we did? We limited the number of lines you could enter, etc., etc. So we kind of limited it ourselves, really.
Yeah.
And then that was exacerbated by the classic track going down. So if you take print, it's gone down from 3,500 entries to 700, and that's just the industry, right?
Yeah, it's just reality.
And you can't replace that with creative business transformation, titanium lines, because it's just not the same volume. So I think the fact that it's flat is quite good.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, right, if we're amongst friends, there used to be a lot of scammy rubbish, and there isn't anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really good thing. So,
sure.
For our bottom line, maybe not great, but I think for the long-term health of the festival, it's a really good thing.
Yeah, listen, with all the challenges we're having, and every company is having them financially, this is still a giant investment for us, but we think it's worth it, and we do it. So I think that's a good sign that it's a healthy industry, and other shows I think have benefited from Cannes, whether it's the one show or the Cleos and Nicole Purcell's here and Kevin's here. Like, I think everybody comes here. It's like, this is when Cannes does well. I think everybody does well because there's a real value in creativity that people are seeing. So I do think it's again, all ships rise with the tide.
They do.
I think when Cannes does well, I think everybody does well because there's a real confidence.
But what's at the heart? I think at the heart of it all is the clients who now come and are talking to me. I had another meeting with a different client yesterday.
Yeah.
They've got a 5-year plan. They are like, we want to win this many lines. We want to do this. We want to do that. We want to do the other.
Yeah.
We want jury members. They've got a whole plan for their creative transformation. And this is what we hear all the time. And that's got to be fantastic for all the partners here that are working with these brands. Because if brands didn't come here, and they weren't interested in creativity, or they couldn't prove the value of creativity, I think the industry would have been a very, very
that's what
place.
people probably also understand, the level of process it takes to win. That we have, and Eric Monet, who runs Creative Excellence for WPP, we were together at McCann. It's a machine. It's a process. Creative Excellence isn't a 5 weeks a year. It's every week a year, and it's about how do we make sure the work is as good as possible, but also the stories about the work, the cases, are all these things. It's a real process in how it's done. And so for a client to say, I love that the client says, I've got a 5-year plan. I think AB and Bev did the same thing. They did 1 2 years in a row.
Yes.
Can't find a better company when it comes to creativity. Unilever, Marketer of the Year this year. We're very proud of that.
Yeah.
And how do you choose Marketer of the Year? I mean, maybe just for people, Brand of the Year, it's points. But Marketer of the Year, like, what's the choice in that?
So firstly, it's about momentum. So what's been happening over the last 3 to 5 years? So has this organization clearly made a commitment to creativity and is improving year on year and year and year? Have they publicly come out and said, we believe in creativity, rather than it being just a one-off or some agency has forced them to do something like? Have they, as in the case of Unilever, they've said very publicly, we believe in creativity. They may have downgraded the purpose side of things, which we can talk about as well if you've got time. But so it's like, have we made a commitment? Are they improving year on year on year? And also, are they creating work across the whole world? Are they winning lines in all categories? And preferably with lots of different partners.
Yeah.
And so that proves a commitment to creativity that is really worth celebrating. And, Unilever won it, I think, in 2009 or something. So it's great that they've come back again.
Keith Weed's on the WPP board. He was CMO at the time.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah,
it is indeed.
very proud of that, and they should be, because it is a great thing. And then Lion of St. Mark. There hasn't been let's talk about the Lion of St. Mark.
Yeah.
I think you guys have done such a fantastic job giving that such a prestigious thing, probably the most prestigious thing to win as an individual in the world of advertising and creativity.
No, it's kind of you to say.
No, so like, what's the plan for this year? Is it,
we have got the most wonderful, maybe not the most famous winner that we've ever had, but certainly I think one of the most deserving. Guy called Jack Sigala, who has the most extraordinary story. He's been the creative director at Havas, creative leader at Havas for a long time. He won his first Lion in 1975 when it was in Venice.
Yeah.
And he won the Lion of St. Mark is designed to look like the lion we used to have, which is based on the Venice lions. So he's won actual Venice lions.
Wow.
He met his wife, who he's still with, on the Carlton Beach 50 years ago. And
wow.
He is 90 years of age, and he goes into the office in Paris every single day.
That's incredible.
So I think that he's quite a deserving winner.
Yeah, for sure. It's great. It's great to see for people to learn about, these individuals that you might not know their full history. So I think it's a great thing.
Yeah.
So we don't have too much time, but I want to. You mentioned purpose. And I'm a giant believer in purpose.
Yeah.
And there is always another tension is too much purpose or too much purpose-led work and not enough funny work. And you've added the humor category.
Well, do you see the Health Grand Prix? It was hilarious.
Yeah, so I do think humor is coming back a bit, and you guys, you've made some more categories for it. But I always get nervous when people start taking shots at purpose. Like, there's not enough of it.
Well, our view, and this is what we say to our juries, is I think the problem with purpose entries into Cannes has been agencies using it to grab the emotion of the juries when it isn't necessarily linked to the brand. And that's cynical, right? So all we say to our juries is, look, if there's a purpose piece of work, just take a step back and have a look, how does this really drive this brand forward? And if it does, if it makes perfect sense, let's take Dove, Unilever, obviously. If it makes sense, like Dove does and has done for years,
decades.
But if it's just clearly cynically bolted onto a brand, this is not the message we want to send to the industry. And also, let's be honest, there a few years ago, if you sat through the awards, sometimes it was a bit depressing. So it's nice to have the Health and Wellness Grand Prix. Have a look if you haven't seen
I know.
But it just makes
FCBs. It's fantastic.
Makes you laugh. It's just great.
Listen, I'm a fan of all the work. We're all friends. I mean, yes, it's not always the smoothest of relationships between different companies, but Susan Cradle's one of my great friends, and I think we all root for each other. Certainly when how difficult health sometimes it is, but like, I love it. I loved it when I was at McCann. We loved it at WPP. So to see that win is so amazing, because you want other healthcare companies saying, oh, that could be us, or we can use humor and use these things. So
it goes back to the point that our CMO said. There's the gift. That's the gift. That Grand Prix is a gift to the health companies around the world to do so.
All right, so we've got about 5 minutes left. So we hit what's called rapid fire, Phil. I don't know if you've watched any past episodes, you'll see this is maybe the most fun part of the podcast. Books or movies?
Movies. I used to be an editor of a movie magazine called Empire in the UK, so movies.
Big magazine. That was your
biggest selling magazine.
Is that your first job? You were the
biggest selling
writer and editor.
I was the editor.
You were the editor. Wow.
I started as a journalist, and then I became the editor.
And then you got into somehow Ascential. Got into.
Well, I could see I could see what was happening to magazines, which was they were dying.
Yeah.
So I thought, what's similar to putting together a magazine? And I decided events were similar enough. So I managed to get myself into it.
But of Empire, you can look it up. There's copies of it on eBay.
People in the UK will know it.
Talking or texting?
Oh, definitely talking.
Interesting. Most people say texting.
No, because texting you can misunderstand. I don't think people are eloquent enough to really. It depends if the message is.
Yeah, but you're British and you have a spectacular voice. It's you and Simon Cook, your CEO of Cannes Lions. also velvet voice. I think he has his own podcast. It's
Yes, he does.
yeah, so,
very popular.
We'll maybe get on that at some point, but it is funny.
But can I just digress one bit about talking?
Yeah,
Because we haven't talked about AI.
yeah. Thank God.
But let's talk about AI in
Yeah.
terms of my business, right, which is an events business. So my theory is that we are going to have the opportunity to interact with AI about 1,000 times a day.
Yep.
It's going to be a question of, is it a human or is it AI? And we are going to choose AI most of the time. That is the truth, because AI is going to be more accurate. It's going to be not going to be irritated by us. It's going to be patient. But that means that human interaction, I think, will go up the value chain like never before.
Yeah, for
People
sure.
will truly value being together as human
It's
beings.
a great perspective.
And so that's why I'm all for
Yeah,
talking.
we're out here in Cannes and in this amazing studio, and the AI DJ came on,
Right.
and it's like, hey, I'm Luke, your AI DJ.
I know, he's been...
And it was like incredible. It was like cooler.
And played it on Spotify.
And Stefan Pretorius, who's our chief technology officer, created a piece of technology, AI, that takes my voice and has recreated me. And it's the version of me I always wish I was. It removes the ums and the non sequiturs. It has my sarcasm in it and the same beats. It was mind blowing to me. So I do think there's something in it. So.
Yeah.
All right. Night owl or morning person?
I'm a morning person. I was up at 5:30 this morning.
Yeah, I was up at 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Is it because we're old? Old people. I don't just sleep at all. So that's my issue.
Honestly,
So.
yeah, I think it is age.
Yeah.
I just woke up. I woke up at 5:30. I thought, am I going to try and turn over and go back to sleep, or am I going to admit the inevitable?
So my good friend Manolo, the great CMO of Coca-Cola, when I said, "What's the last song you listened to?" and he told me the name of the song, I don't know. He goes, "Oh, it's EDM." He's a electronic music fan.
Right.
EDM, crazy EDM fan. So what's the last song Phil Thomas has listened to?
The last song I listened to was, I was listening this morning to the Beatles.
Oh, wow.
And I think Hey Jude was the last song that was on before I switched it off. It came out.
Hidden secret talent.
Hidden secret talent. I play the piano, but not very well.
Wow. I think you should play the piano with the Carlton or something. I feel like that's a Phil Thomas piano. Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah.
If you could hang out with one fictional character, who would it be?
Fictitious character.
Fictional. From any era.
I think since we're in the south of France, I think it would probably be James Bond for a little while. I once interviewed Sean Connery.
Sean Connery, that James Bond.
Yeah, that one. Yeah. I mean, he was a bit of an idiot. He wasn't. There's
a video of him that's not so great.
It might be nice just hanging out with him.
3 items on your bucket list.
3 items on my bucket list. I want to go and see the orangutans in Borneo. I want to go to French Polynesia. It's like the Truman Show, you know. He wanted to go to Fiji. I've never been to French Polynesia, and of course I've got a lion because I was given a lion when I hit 10 years at the festival.
Okay,
but I've never won a lion, Rob.
This is amazing. Maybe
I'd like to win a lion.
All right, we're gonna help Phil Thomas win a lion.
I'd love to win a lion.
All right, we'll do something. I promise. We're gonna do it. But we can't tell people until you actually win it, right?
Yeah.
A brand you can't live without.
I'm sorry to be boring, but I think it's probably Apple.
I'm doing pretty well in the festival. Go-to karaoke song.
I don't do karaoke. I'm too embarrassed in English.
But go-to piano karaoke that you play piano on. You got one song to prove that you're good.
I think it's anything by Foreigner, probably.
Wow, Foreigner. I like that. Favorite social media app? Favorite social media.
Do you know what? Am I allowed to say this?
Yeah.
I mean, I think I use LinkedIn the most. Can I put it like that?
You're in the business. Last one. One piece of advice for your teenage self. Jonathan, my director, he writes these amazing questions.
My advice to any young person really is career advice, because
any advice, one piece to give to yourself, your teenage self.
My best advice to people who want to get on in their career is always say yes. And what I caveat that by saying, in your life, you shouldn't always say yes, because that can lead to all sorts of problems.
Yeah, exactly.
But when your boss says to you, would you mind taking this on as well? Don't answer with, is my pay going to go up, or am I going to get a bonus, or how can I fit this into my day job? Just say yes, because that's what I've done, and honestly, it always pays back.
Well, this has been an amazing. We're good friends. We're having dinner tomorrow night, but this has been so cool, and I love that people will learn more about you and certainly about the festival. It's been an amazing couple days so far. We're looking forward to the rest of the week.
Thank you for inviting.
Thank you, Phil Thomas.
Thank you.